Hello, I am Felicia Tracy. I'm a commissioner for the Nevada County Historical Landmarks Commission. Um, we have a purpose of trying to preserve the history of Nevada County uh, so that it may be enjoyed and recognized by those who are here now and those in the future. The 10 commissioners are appointed by our Board of Supervisors. We are very proud of the amount of cooperation and amount of work that we've done in the county. And today I have a guest, Roxanne Freitas, who is a long time resident of Nevada County and grew up at the famous Loma Rica Ranch. I wanted to tell a few moments here about some of the history of the Loma Rica Ranch. As early as the 1920s, there was fruit there, fruit trees. And at one point later on, they had some enormous variety of pear trees, apple trees, or not the trees, but the fruit from the trees, and cherries on exhibit at the California State Fair that took top honors. Later on, it became a horse ranch. Probably for about 5 decades. And the interesting thing is that the early history of it as a horse ranch, and I will add, the Loma Rica is off of Brunswick Road in Grass Valley, and it was very near the Idaho-Maryland mine. In the early 30s, Errol MacBoyle started to develop the ranch. And he chose it for its the elevation and for the good soil there and the very lovely location. In 1934, he decided to make it into a stock farm, and he built 2 magnificent barns, stables of redwood with a hardwood lining in each 15 by 15 foot stall. And the reason they were so large is he started out with approximately 20 or 30 registered, very highly bred Percheron draft horses. And they needed those large stalls. They were used for show, they were used for draft, but a few years later, Mr. MacBoyle decided he wanted to develop a beautiful thoroughbred racehorse farm. So he sold his Percherons at that time. And this would have been, close to 1937, when he sold the Percherons and went into the thoroughbred business. He acquired 2 very good stallions.
Time Supply.
Microphone and Time Supply, who were outstanding racehorses. You remember them, I'm sure.
Well, I don't remember them, but I've heard about them.
Heard about them.
Yes.
And then he had about 20 brood mares. And he was trying, his whole idea was to raise some of the best horses that could win at the big racetracks of the time. He went to great lengths to plant clover, Burt's Foot trefoil, to take beautiful care of the pastures. He had a whole sprinkler system put in that was remarkable really for that time, and excellent fencing. And those stables, I'll go back a little bit, cost about $50,000 at that time, which was a great deal. They were, as I said, they were made out of redwood. He then continued with trying to raise the best horses, both for a breeding farm of thoroughbred mares and studs, and also for racehorses. And when the racehorses needed a layup or a rest, they would come to the farm as well. In 1947, MacBoyle had failing health, and he ended up selling all of those thoroughbreds to William Gilmore, whom you are well familiar with. And at that point, the horses were moved off of the Loma Rica Ranch to the Bay Area. And Roxanne, I'm sort of getting into the middle of the story without asking about where you were born or anything, but you can fill me in. Can you tell us more about the era of Bill Gilmore and who he was?
Well, first of all, should I tell you how he hired my dad?
Sure.
So it all happened.
Because he hired him early on before the Loma Rica.
Well, my dad was riding polo ponies, exercising them, and one of his people that he worked for, I can't remember his name right now, introduced him to Bill because my dad was such a good hand. And then he started working at the ranch down there, which was on the El Camino Real. And then, as I told you, that they came up to the ranch in, 56? And then Mr. Gilmore, my dad, and Johnny Longden came up in a plane. And they leased the ranch. Mr. Gilmore and Johnny Longden leased it for...
Sale, I think, from Canada, too.
No, I don't...
Wasn't him.
No, I think Johnny Longden had that ranch with him. It was called the Alberta Ranch, and
All right.
yes.
Tell them who Johnny Longden was.
Very famous jockey. And anyway, they leased it, and then in 57, Mr. Gilmore bought the ranch, and my dad and all of us moved up, and my dad started managing the ranch up here in Grass Valley.
Now, all of us would be...
My brother, Bill, my mother, Edith, and myself.
How old were you?
4.
All right. And so then what kind of responsibilities did your dad find he had?
Everything. Now, well, I was very young at that point, but, as I got old, he had stallions, so he was breeding, foaling, boarding, and, basically everything. And, and then they hired a lot of people, and he looked over everything, and he was very, dedicated to the horses, I can tell you that. One of his things was sleeping in the barn from January to May to foal out the babies, because he did not trust anyone to do that.
And they almost always foal at night.
Yes. So, and whatever else you...
It's different than cattle, who cattlemen can check their cattle during the daylight, and unless there's a real problem, they're not up nights.
No.
But with horses, they're very, very delicate. If they don't foal within, an hour or so, you have a big problem.
Well, he just, because he just cared about them, and, that's what he did. He didn't have to. They did get a night watchman for a while, but he didn't like that. So, but that's just how he was.
So what was it like being 4, and then to how old were you there?
I was there till 18, and then I started getting sale horses ready for my dad when I was 17 and 18, and then I quit for a while, and then I went back and rode colts for them. And so I was there almost all the time they were there, which my dad was there. He worked for Gilmore for almost 40 years between both places. So I was always there.
So what do you remember most about being a little kid there? Because I met you when you were maybe this big.
It was the best life in the world. I rode polo ponies when they'd come to rest, and it was just a beautiful place. And you go out, and there were, sometimes there were 100 horses there, and it was the best life in the world, and I don't remember a lot of stuff when I was little, except they'd let me ride about anywhere I wanted.
So when you rode, the track wasn't in there yet when you were little.
The track, I believe, was I think the track was I know for sure it was put in before Mr. Gilmore passed away, which was in 59. And we all rode the track a lot. It was fun, but yeah, he put the track
But
in.
before the track was in and you were allowed to ride, did you go clear down toward Brunswick?
I rode down to the lake, what's the lake?
Lake Olympia?
Yeah, and the boat was still up in the water like that. Yeah, I rode all over, and the freeway wasn't in, so we could ride down the area the freeway was, and it was a free-for-all.
Did you do it mostly by yourself? Or
Yeah, they let me. I just
how old would you have been then?
around 7.
Okay.
But yeah, it was the best life in the world. I mean, that place it's in my heart. I love that place, and it's just sad to see it like it is right now. I really hope we can save some of it, the barns and maybe the old house. It would be wonderful. And I mean, it's just, there's nothing like it and I don't believe in Nevada County. Not like those barns. Those barns are just fantastic.
Gage McKinney made a comment a couple, 3 years ago that the Loma Rica was as important to Nevada County as the ferry building is to San Francisco.
Yes, it'll be a shame that they don't save it. I mean, I have a hard time driving by it. And it was taken care of so well. I have so many people, I share my pictures on Facebook, and people say that they used to stop by just to see the babies out in the fields, because we had them all out there, and everything was kept. The fences were white. Irrigation was on. It was just taken care of so well.
Well, your dad prided himself on those irrigated pastures, and there were even early on, there were so many paddocks of 1 acre to 5 acres, just a huge number.
They're gone now because they have trees in them.
Right, but there were originally when MacBoyle had it, I understood there were over about 280 acres that were devoted specifically for horses. And then I believe that Mr. Newt later on added more acreage.
Yes, across where they put up the building site for the houses, not the big pastures, if the big area where that is, but a little bit beyond there was a ranch we called it the Red Ranch, but he added that on after a while. And but
do you have horses there too?
Well, we didn't put too many horses back there because you had to keep an eye on them. The most we did is put the moms and babies out in the big field, because you have to, you got to watch them all the time, and so we didn't put too much back there. But I think they put some cattle back there for a while.
Yeah, probably. Well, it was incredible how that was. Now, I'm interested when the track was put in and the details of that.
Well, it was put in before Mr. Gilmore died, which would have been 57, 59, because they also built the house that's up at the lake that he built also. I'm not sure if they were all the way done because I was a child still, and but he had that built, and so I don't know if you know that the road that goes to the track is where the narrow gauge used to go.
Is it really?
Yeah, part of the narrow gauge, and because we used to find those big things that go in the
Spikes?
Yes, we found some on that.
Really?
But that's what I've heard. I don't know if do you know that? Yeah, he knows that too also. Sorry. But I just think that's an interesting factor too, to because the narrow gauge
probably went on to Lake Olympia.
I don't know how, but I just know I was told that, plus we found those pins.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Now the track was a half mile?
Yes.
And you had a starting gate?
Yes, when Mr. Gilmore died and his daughter and her husband took over, we did a lot of changing.
Who
Mr. Noop and Mr. and Mrs. Noop, and Grace was Mr. Gilmore's daughter. So after everything, came about, we had a starting gate. We put 10 really nice round pens in for training. He did a lot of improvement. A lot of
How
improvement.
many horses could be in the starting gate at once for training?
I think maybe 6. I can't.
Oh, 6.
Maybe
That's a lot.
it might have been more less. I think I remember him slamming us in there. It wasn't fun.
So you, particularly when Mr. Newt turned things more into training horses there for the races, and less brood mares, and he had brood mares and stallions to begin with. I think there were 4 stallions.
There were 6 at one time.
6 at one time.
But we changed stallions too as we went, and yes, and
Well, I read somewhere there were upwards of 300 horses there at once at one time.
there was a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot, and my dad, they all came in at night. I mean, so I don't, he was very picky about everything, and every horse stall was cleaned every day. Everything was pristine. It was very.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
The way it should be.
Yeah.
Well, explain when they took in other people's horses as well as their own to either sales prep or for training them for the 2-year-old training sales or for racing in general.
Mm-hmm.
What was involved with that?
Well, we would usually get them before September, and we had to have them trained by March to do that sale they always have. What is that one at?
2-year-old training
Yeah,
sale?
the one that was in California. Mm-hmm. And so he, when they first started, there were just a few of them, and then he started hiring us girls, and there were 8 of us at one time.
Do you remember any of the names of them?
Yes.
Who were they?
Well, Gloria Roberts, who has passed away, unfortunately, and Marilyn Chrisman, and she's also passed, unfortunately. And I'm trying to think.
Valerie Greenwell?
She didn't ride.
She didn't ride.
She only, I think, worked there one summer doing sale prep horses.
And what about Holly? And I can't think of her last name. And then there was another gal.
Well, there's somebody
who worked here for a while and then worked there and became a trainer and was out on McCourtney for a while with a racing team.
Yeah, I don't know, but who rode there with us? John Sheriff.
Tell about who.
Well,
John Sheriff's.
John came there in a van with a surfboard, and he said, I want a job here, my dad said. I wasn't there when this happened, and my dad's kind of looking at it, and he said, and he was from the back east, and he had rode jumping and that type of horses. And so anyway, he was 6 foot, so my dad's kind of looking at him, well, you're gonna have to keep your weight down, and anyway, he started working there, and he actually, after a while, he started training some horses for my dad, and little by little, and then when I think he was there 15 years altogether between working there and then training he was training at, I think, Bay Meadows, maybe Golden Gate, for my dad. And then after my dad sold his race horses, he went off to, I'm not sure who he was with, but a big trainer, and he put himself up there, and he actually won the Kentucky Derby with Giacomo. And he also was a trainer of Zenyatta, if you know who Zenyatta is. She's a very famous mare. And he was on the front of the Blood Horse, and I believe he was, what's the other magazine?
The Daily Racing Form?
No, it was the, that's to do with all sports.
Thoroughbred Record? Oh, the Sports Illustrated.
Yes, he was on Sports Illustrated.
And he got his start with your dad.
But if you Google my dad or him, he always says my dad was his mentor, which really is neat. And he has a lot of good things to say about my father. And so he was really made us proud.
Did you all get along with him well?
Oh yeah, when we were around him, he was young. We were all young, so we were kind of silly. And my dad says, "Who's in jail this week?" Because the boys would get in trouble a little bit. But anyway, we had a great time, and it was probably the best time of my whole life. And I'll tell you, I rode horses my whole life, and I was a good little rider. She knows that. But I'll tell you, riding those race horses really fix you. Makes you tough. And it was,
especially when they are inexperienced.
yeah, they aren't.
And you're teaching them.
All they know is to be led with the halter, and most of them are pretty good because, well, people fool with them quite a bit. And so getting on them, we did a lot of ground driving, a lot of prep, and then when we thought we were ready, my dad or one of the people helping would throw us on, and then we'd just see what happened. And sometimes it wasn't very good. But I have to say, none of us girls got hurt out there. Just little stuff. My dad, we had outriders, and we were pretty safe.
Tell them what an outrider is.
It's somebody that's there that if you have a problem, they grab the horse by the, reins or pick you up off the ground, things like that. Now, just to protect you and the horse itself, because a lot of those horses were worth a lot of money.
Well, I think your dad made a comment once about they were worth, well, several $1 million. When they had 20 of them, that it went very much into the millions of dollars that they were worth.
Well, Mr. Knoop, I only think he did it for 2 to 3 years. He would go back to Keeneling and buy horses, and then they shipped them out. And we broke those horses and resold them in California. But as you know, California with the racehorse industry went down the tubes, and so it was really hard, and as you see, all the racetracks are being out. And so unfortunately, that's why we had to close the ranch, because of all that happened, which was a very sad time.
It certainly is. It certainly is. So I know that my dad took horses to the Loma Rica for your dad to be an agent for selling them. And I even found an ad where that one of ours is in with, says Henry Freitas, agent.
Yeah.
So with the sales prep, did you get involved with that?
You mean just the riding horses or just the other one?
The yearlings.
Yes, I did that for my dad a few times, yeah. And, we would lunge them and everything. They're pretty well behaved.
Tell people what lunging means.
Well, you stand in the middle, and you have a long rope, and we had these wonderful round pins, so they had a perimeter where if you're doing it out in the open, it's harder. And usually it's quite easy to train them to do it, you have to be patient, but most of them are pretty smart. And then having the round pins were just...
Well, I remember those round pins were solid.
Yeah, they were solid to, well, I'm short, about my 5 foot height, and then you could see through. But
yes.
For the sand, but they were great. They were really nice. And we had the best of everything there. It was really nice. And
well, there was a great effort to make it a beautiful, beautiful place. And I brought a few things here, and you did as well. But for example, this is in 1961. This is an ad for the Loma Rica Ranch and the stallions that they have.
I think they were just going into where they were dispersal after that, or I think that
it could be,
because he died in 59, and then it took some time because she inherited part of it, her and her sister.
Well, the one thing when I look at this particular ad with Highbury and Sun God III, the names of these particular stallions, both of them imported from Europe.
Tall Chief was actually, the Aga Khan owned him.
Did he?
Yes,
Wow.
and I'm not. I think Mr. Gilmer bought him from somebody else who bought him over here, but I do know that. And Tall Chief, I have a little story about him.
Yes.
He broke down and he ran in the better races, stake races and everything, and they told him, "Oh, he's not going to race again." Well, my dad.
We were talking about the stallion Tall Chief and how he broke down at the track. And then what did your dad do?
Well, my dad was excellent with repairing these horses, and they they said, "Oh no, he'll never run again." And my dad fixed him, or worked on his legs, and he went back and won back. I think it was 1960 or 59. He won $100,000 race, a stakes race, after he was told that he would not race again.
He was very, very good. You have here a few pictures of that training track that we were discussing. And this one, you want to explain it?
It's the outlet where the starting gate was, and we would go in there and are we waiting? We would go in there and they'd close the doors shut on us, and we got them used to getting in and out of a starting gate, and then they'd open the front and we'd run out, and that's what that was.
And then here, I love this one because it shows how beautiful that track and the fencing was.
It's two of us girls riding and warming up the colts.
So, in any case, getting back again to the horse Tall Chief, who was, of course, worked there, Malcolm Hamill, who managed the ranch after it was the Gilmores and the Nukes were gone, and had worked at the mine, became fair manager for Nevada County Fair.
Yeah, he did that. Excuse me for interrupting, but him and his daughter and his wife lived there before we moved there.
That's right,
Yeah.
Sylvia.
Yes.
Yes. And so what was interesting, he was really promoting our fair, and he encouraged your dad, Henry Freitas, and my dad, Ted Shaps, and others to show thoroughbreds there. And there'd never been, I think probably maybe even in the West Coast, a confirmation class with prizes awarded for thoroughbred horses at a fair. They were raced at the fairs, but I don't think that had happened before. We had, I believe, 4 highly bred thoroughbred stallions all shown at the fair on the big lawn as you enter. And it was, Henry had done an incredible job presenting those stallions. My dad brought his stallion, and then there were a whole division of mares and younger horses there. But there must have been, I'm just guessing, at least 20 thoroughbreds filling those stables for that show. It was pretty remarkable. Then,
here, I'll put these away.
Okay. Another thing, if we go on to the point where Mr. Newt and Gracie sold the property, who was that to?
I believe there was, but there was somebody else who kind of for a little bit had offered, and something happened, but they did do some work there, and then they went back on it, and the teachers' retirement fund bought it for a while, and they had it for quite a while, and they would rent the barns out to people that wanted to be there, and it kind of ran it down doing that, and then, as you know, it was sold a couple more times. So
Well, during that time was the 49er fire,
Yes.
and you weren't living there then?
No, when my father and mother moved out, I took care of the place for about 5 years, I believe, and just was stayed up there to make sure nobody was, doing anything they shouldn't be, and the 49er fire happened, and it was so bad, and I just called the sheriff department and said, because they were evacuating horses, and I said, bring them up here. And I had two other people with me, and we got a water truck to use, and we were putting horses. Anyway, we put horses in pastures that hadn't been used in a while because the ranch had been partly closed down, and we took in 130 horses and took care of them from I believe it was September. What was the September 11th?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was a 6-day period, and we took care of them, and people donated hay and everything, but we had 130 there we took care of, and it was it was great to be able to help people.
Did you use the barns too?
We did use a few down below because there were some show horses that couldn't be out in pastures, but most of the others we put in pasture. It was just too much work to take care of all those horses.
Yes.
So, but it was.
Well, that was a noble deed in time of need. It was before we had anything well organized for animal rescue in this county.
Yeah.
So it was really important. Going back a little bit, I remember your dad got involved with endurance riding.
Oh, yes.
And that would have been probably when things were winding down
No.
on the ranch? No?
He started in the 70s, and no, he would get us girls to ride his endurance horses on the track on our spare time and stuff and help him. But no, he'd take little time here and there for himself and rode, and but he did get away. But he started in the 70s on a quarter horse. So,
With the endurance riding around here, it is primarily the 100-mile in one day Tevis Cup. Same horse and same rider. And I remember he rode a lot with Marge Pryor.
Yes.
With her horse Fritz, who had only one eye, and he won twice. And then there were a lot of other people too.
Oh yeah, he did it 11 times and finished 7.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And I believe Neil Robinson did
Neil
too.
Robinson, Cramner Engineering?
Yes.
In fact, he tried it twice and he didn't finish, so I loaned him my horse and he finished, but I had to help him at the quarry because I got him through though, because he was letting him eat and he was tying up, and I said, come on, let me have him, and I went over the bushes, kind of made the horse move around.
Tell them what tying up means, because it happens.
It's kind of like when you do too much and your legs and stuff don't want to move. Well, it does it with the horses, but it also can make them very sick. And but you don't want them to do that, And anyway.
Well, this is a picture of Roxanne's dad, Henry Freitas, and who's he riding in this picture?
He's actually on Tiffany. That was his favorite horse, which he lost her. It's a long story, but it's something I shouldn't talk about here probably. But anyway, that was Tiffany. She was half thoroughbred and half Arab.
Very, very good combination. So, in any case, what else would you like to share?
Well, we didn't share the part about the fountain up at the yeah, there's a fountain there's a pond above the ranch. What's a fairly good sized pond, which provides the water for the ranch. I do not know for sure who dug it. It's a man-made pond, but it has a fountain from the 1939. It's actually a reproduction of the 1939 World Fair fountain, and Mr. MacBoyle had it put up there. And there's also a structure out in the water, a pavilion, and it's a glass house. And have you seen it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's beautiful, and it was put. I that I do not know either.
Oh.
That might be that the man that wrote MacBoyle's book would know about that. I don't
Gage
know.
McKinney.
Yeah,
He
I
wrote
don't.
a wonderful book.
Yeah, and I don't know that much about Mr. MacBoyle, but anyway, the lake was gorgeous. I haven't seen it in a while, but and the pond or the fountain was really fun to jump off of. When we were kids, we would swim down there and jump off, and yeah.
Giving people ideas here.
I know. I'm sure they've had ideas. We had a lot of we had somebody that lived there for a long time, and they'd run everybody out. So, but back in the day.
How many people do you think at its height did your dad have employed?
20 maybe. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. When it was going, it was very busy.
Right.
Yeah. We had something always going, I mean, there was people cleaned the stalls, I mean, they had to eat and get their stalls cleaned 7 days a week. So, that's.
Did they feed 2 or 3 times a day?
Well, in the barns, the upper barns, there's, which I need to mention, that the floor in the very first barn is like a dance floor, except there's holes where you drop down all the hay. But the floor is just incredible. We used to slide around on it as kids, But we would fill those feeders, so if they were in the barns, I always had hay. Most of our horses always had free hay. Like the feeders were always kept full outside, because even though they were out during the summertime, the feeders were always full. He fed very well, and all our hay came from usually Fallon, Nevada. We'd probably have 6 to 8 truck and trailer loads come in. And when my mom, when we first moved there and I was a little girl, they'd take the tractor and they literally would pull one bale up because, it was real high in the barns, and pull one bale up at a time. So it took a long time. And then they started using conveyor belts, which made it a whole lot easier. But the second barn has one already built in it, a conveyor belt in the barn. And that was one note too. Us kids would ride the hay down the conveyor belt. We had a great time. But that's why I hope that they save the barns, because they're just incredible. They're just so beautiful, and they're just something else. And I just hope that we can, provide some sort of. I think it'd make a great park, because we have a lot of lawns, and you could make, picnic benches, and then the stalls are so big you could put little shops in them. That's my idea. And I
think it's a good idea.
I mean, it's an incredible place. I mean, I just can't see it going. It's very hard for me to look at it. And I did not own it or anything, but I sure lived there and sure loved it, so.
Well, thank you so much for sharing so many wonderful things.
You're welcome.
I really, really appreciate it very, very much.